time to do some chorin, which is currently just sweeping. It's certainly not the only chore, but it's the one I'm gonna do right now on this fine morning. It's already afternoon, but that's fine. It's a bit ridiculous, but much of the day yesterday fighting with siblings. Oh. Now I gotta do this. Why is this the way that we store this? Because it's thought to be out of the way, but it's not a good place to store things that don't fit. Oh gosh. The abuse in my family is mainly caused because none of them want to admit when they're wrong. And very few people are able to take criticism. Even few are able to give critiques in a way that doesn't just feel like criticism. Having spent the last 9 or so years of my education on understanding the human brain and trauma and behavior, and then the last 2 years specifically studying social work and how we live in our environment before moving back home to try to reconnect with my family, it's been pretty plain to see that they don't want to stop being abusive or toxic. And that's a bummer. Yeah. Like, I knew that they had all supported my endeavor of going to school, but I guess I didn't expect them to not believe anything I learned at school. Like, it's wild. It's a weird feeling. Not to mention, well, I'm gonna mention it, but this community was a sundown town until the 70s. Like, my grandfather remembers when Black Americans were ran out of town before dark, or else they were gonna get physically hurt. And that's not gone away just because the law was changed. Like, people still feel that. Feel that about the queer community too. I've been getting a lot of homophobic insults thrown at me, a lot of things that stem from, I would imagine, and my partner kind of agrees on some level, that a lot of it stems from the Christian church and the teaching of modern Christianity. People will fucking censor themselves and then cry that the government's trying to force them to do things. I understand not necessarily wanting to get the vaccine if you're scared. Okay. I understand not wanting to have people force things into your body. Okay, that's valid. That's a valid feeling. But then those same people try to tell others, oh, well, you can't do that drug. Oh, you can't do this behavior. Oh, you can't love this person. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't understand. I do. And that's the hard part, is that I do understand that you believe that because it's what you've been taught. Change your beliefs, learn something else. Like, just grow up. It's ridiculous. acorns everywhere. I'm living with my grandparents now. Trying to keep their space free from tripping hazards, at the very least. I mean, you'll see the tree. That's fine. The most fucking ridiculous part, though, the most ridiculous part is that people are judging me, people are threatening me, people are making assumptions about me because I, an adult person, am selling photographs of my adult body to other adults. And because I believe science and I believe the plethora of evidence that suggests teaching youth and growing people, teaching growing children about sexuality and about the responsibility and about the impacts of sex, teaches them to make more responsible and safe for them decisions, and teaching consent and teaching what that means rather than the expected obedience that parents expect of their children here. Obedience is not respect. Obedience is fear. And that doesn't teach you anything except fear and fear responses. So expecting children to not engage with parts of their own body until they're an adult, it doesn't make sense. And then expecting them even further to maybe disengage with that part of their body entirely, it's just abuse. It is neglecting to teach your child what they need to survive and what it means to be alive and what the human experience is. And the fact that anybody who judges me with a child, like anybody who has a child and thinks less of me because I sell nude photos to adults, needs to get their head out of their anus, because they are sexual beings. They brought a child into this world by fucking. So maybe teach children about fucking so that when they're adults, they can make better choices. And when they are children, they can understand that I am a child and this adult is doing something that they ought not do. This adult, if an adult is hitting on a child, if an adult is trying to court a child, the adult is the problem, not the child. And that behavior is most oftentimes learned in the home, in which fathers and the men who are caretaking for these children do not show the children or do not show the mother or the other parent respect to their own body, respect to their boundaries, and consent. And not teaching those things to your children puts them in a greater risk to be assaulted or to be harmed by an adult who is trying to take advantage of them. And so many of the people who are mad at me are abusive. They are not teaching their children respect or consent. They are expecting their children to bow down to their obedience, which is only setting their children up for failure or worse, to be a perpetrator. My family has perpetrators in it. If I had hard proof, or if the justice system actually did any source of justice, I would hope for them to be in prison. But I know that the prison system doesn't change behavior in the way we want it to. It comes from having these conversations with people, having people stand up for one another in their own communities. And the fact that my own flesh and blood doesn't want to believe what I've learned in school because it makes them feel bad about their own actions says more about them than it does about me. And I can't let them define my faith. It's pathetic, really. I'm the youngest, and they all keep telling me to grow up when they're just being abusive, and I'm trying to end the abuse. Whatever. It's not whatever, but, you know, back to chorin. There's at least one person here who has told me in no uncertain terms, I could find the exact terms, they're text messages, of that covering up history changes history. Which, if we're just going to think a little bit, use our big brains, changing and covering up are not the same thing. I changed the state of the deck. I moved leaves off of it. That's a change. I could say that I covered them up. I covered up the leaves. But that doesn't change that I actually swept the deck. Changing what you say doesn't change your past actions. Linear time doesn't work like that. And unfortunately, our bodies are only capable of perceiving time in a linear fashion. So you can say that Christopher Columbus found America, and then 30 years from now, when they wrote the books in the fucking 40s and were lying to us all, you can then go, oh, wait, no, actually, that racist motherfucker never stepped foot off Haiti and just enslaved those people, and then we just extrapolated the information from Christopher Columbus and kept his horrific actions and brought them here to other indigenous people. That doesn't, saying that Christopher Columbus discovered America doesn't change the fact that he was a horrendously racist monster who enslaved indigenous people. That doesn't change that. You can say whatever you want, but it doesn't change the lives and the environment that was impacted. Time doesn't work like that. And just saying that it does, that might help your brain sleep at night and not feel so bad about the shit that you've done in your past, but that doesn't change your actions. If anything, it's harboring guilt and it's harboring resentment, and then you're just going to continue to be angry, and you're going to continue in those patterns and cycles of abuse. You can't just say something change and it changes. Unfortunately, that's not how life works. It would be a lot easier if I could just be like, I'm not depressed anymore. And lo and behold, I wasn't depressed. But that's not quite how it works either.
It was much easier to put that away, not holding the phone in my hand. Makes sense. Ooh, blur things out. I don't know. Not sure how to edit videos, really. My computer's busted. Well, one of my computers is certainly busted. The other one's old. Our water system. I don't know, y'all. But I ain't done here. Did not come this far just to get this far. We're gonna continue to break out of cycles of abuse. We're gonna try our best to break cycles of abuse for others too, but I can't do work for you. I can only do my own work. Sorry, unfortunately. We all have responsibilities if we want to live in a world where we have things. And the things I want are bigger than any of us. So, got a lot of work to do. Thanks for the support.